Um, you guys can hear me okay? Okay, cool. So I guess to start, let me ask if you guys have any questions about the machine language stuff from last week, the lab and the homework. I got the impression that way too many of you waited way too long to start doing the lab and then ran into trouble way too late. Um, so if there's any questions about what's happening in the lab or the homework, I'll try to answer them now, or you can email me later. All right, I guess not. Always remember you can email me with questions. Um, always remember that the labs are not designed to be done in 1 hour. They're meant to take the place of, an hour and a half, actually 3 hour and a half long days of the summer session meeting, which we don't meet for. So make sure you plan for that accordingly. This lab this week is similarly long. It has hopefully not as complicated, but a similar program that you need to download and use yourself to run it. So again, I think it's very important that you get at least far enough in the lab to see whether that program works for you, whether you get stuck before it's too late. This week is, I forgot to share my screen. This week is the week where we talk about, you guys see the screen? Okay. I'm going to go to present to everyone. All right. So this week is the week where we do I don't know why it's not letting. Okay. Networking. Ah. Ah. Weird stuff is happening. Networking. Sorry, the networking, the internet, and the World Wide Web. So the point of this week is to get you ready to think about the internet and how it works, and how networks do their thing, and how the World Wide Web works. The homework for the week is designing your own simple web pages. I have kind of a. Is it back now? I had to reboot the tablet. Can you see the screen? Okay. Yeah. My pen went wonky, so not yet. Well, I think it's. I wonder if I can. Yeah. It might be you. So. Um. How about now? You see it now? Hello? You see that? Okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, sometimes the connection gets weird. Um, so let's start with networks. A network is a collection of computers connected together and communicating with each other. So, the most famous example of this is the internet, which is a series of computers all connected together and communicating with each other. Also, your local wireless network is an example of this. Maybe a computer lab set up to share files, where the files on some computers can communicate back and forth with each other, things like that. What they all have in common is they're all so computers doing their own thing, sitting around, and then information goes in between all these computers on the network. So the arrows are the network. Okay, and so the network carries messages between the computers. And there's a whole way too much advanced computer science literature on how you make these messages and what they look like and what their format is and how you break it down into binary numbers and hexadecimal and all that. We're not going to go into that detail. Okay, so hallelujah. What you need to know is the messages usually contain some kind of ID of who's sending the message, some kind of ID of the recipient who's getting the message, and then the actual data that's getting sent back and forth. So all of these messages going across the internet know who they're coming from and know who they're going to so that they get to the right place. And then the actual data is kind of sandwiched in between all that, holding the stuff you want to send from one place to the other. Okay, so all the internet is it's a giant network of computers that connects all across the world. And so there's billions of machines on the internet, and all they're doing is all talking to each other or to specific ones by sending these messages, and these messages consist of who's sending it, who's receiving it, and what the actual data is. Same exact idea. Same idea, just larger. Okay. There's lots of ways to communicate on the internet. So in other words, ways to send these messages back and forth, ways for computers on the internet to talk to each other. The most popular, and the one you're going to spend the most time on, is web pages. So it's become kind of a colloquial way of speaking. I'm going to get on the internet kind of means I'm going to fire up a web browser and go someplace. Okay, but there's also other ways to use the internet to communicate back and forth. You can why did my screen stop letting me draw? Boy. That's weird. I cannot draw. I cannot respond. My screen froze. Hooray. Can you guys still hear me? Okay. My drawing program just froze up on me, so prepare to be excited. I'm not sure what to do about this. I can't even minimize it. Oh, there it goes. So what I think I'm going to do is, save this, or try to. Welcome to Computer Stink Theater in CS103. Why is this all so crappy? Start a new one. You don't let me do that. All right, we're going to do something else. I don't like this as much because I have to type, and when I type, the microphone stops working. So, but I think we're going to have to deal with it. So, sorry about that. This is me typing. If I can, it's probably too small for you guys to see, huh? How do I text options? No. Well, now I'm getting irritated. Is there a way for me to make this text larger? All right, how about that? Is that large enough that you guys can see it? Woo. Hooray for typing. All right, sorry about that. So anyway, what we're talking about is so ways to connect on the internet. So, like I said, the sound's going to go in and out because once it hears the typing clicks, it intelligently, automatically mutes. So I'll try not to talk while I type, but I'm going to forget. So the first way is the web browser. The second way is directly logging into a remote machine. So that means you can connect onto a machine on the internet and like do stuff on that machine directly. So you all have the ability to do this on the machine that holds the web pages. You don't have much reason to do it, but you can. And so it's a way for people from home to log into a machine that's on the internet and try to fix things. It's a way for people across the world to kind of talk to each other by having accounts on the same machine, that sort of stuff. Another way is email clients. I know most of you guys do your email through the Gmail webpage. I do my email through a program called Thunderbird that is not a web thing. It's a separate program that just manages the email and sends email messages back and forth. I like it better because it beeps at me when I get email, and other reasons. Also, there's something called a file transfer program. And the job of a file transfer program is to take files that exist on your computer and drag them to some machine on the internet or vice versa. So the file transfer program is what you guys are going to be using to get your web pages that you're writing onto the server, onto the web server, so people can see them. So I can see integrate it, so other people can see the web pages you make. So the point I want to make about this is that the internet is more than just the World Wide Web. Being on the internet means you're a computer that connects to other machines on the internet. It does not mean you have web pages. It does not mean you know, that's part of the internet. It's not all of it. It does not mean you have an email address. It's part of the internet. It's not all of it. Having said that, the point of the World Wide Web, the point of it is that it's a system of web pages. Can I italicize? I want to like underline web pages. I don't know. Web pages. And what makes it a web, the reason you get the web image, is the way they're linked together, right? Clicking on one page takes you to another page. That's the link, okay? And the other thing is, and are searchable through, and are searchable through programs like search engines. So Google's the most famous search engine. You can throw Bing or whatever else you want to throw in there too if you'd rather. And what the search engine does is it automatically looks around at all the web pages it can find, stores it in a giant database of all the web pages it can find, and then when you type in a thing you're looking for, it goes through its giant database of all the web pages it looked at and tries to tell you things that match. Okay, so all a search engine is a really complicated program that has access to the entire web and then uses this access to find things for you by reading all these web pages and getting some kind of information about how the web pages work. So what I want you to know about the internet before you start the homework in the lab is computers on the internet are accessed by an address, and there are two different kinds of addresses. The first kind of address is called an IP address. The format is kind of under flux, but the IP address that most people will see nowadays is a collection of 4 numbers. The 4 numbers are separated by dots. And each number is between, let me put it down here, 0 and 255. Now, take a wild guess as to why you think each of these numbers in the IP address is between 0 and 255. That number should kind of ring a bell for you. What do we know about Yes. So what about binary reminds you of 0 to 255? A byte, right? And so 1 byte holds the number, if it's unsigned, can hold a range of 256 things, which is the range of numbers from 0 to 255, right? So what that means is these 4 numbers each of those 4 numbers in the IP address is stored as 1 byte, which means the IP address altogether is 4 bytes long. And so most addresses of most places on the internet are 4 bytes long. So if you care, this is an example of an IP address. The IP address, Google's IP address, I just looked it up, is 172.217.4.238. Okay. There is absolutely no reason for you to know that, except to see it as an example of an IP address, which is 4 numbers separated by dots, all between 0 and 55. Okay. I'm going to look up OWU's IP address here. The IP address for OWU.edu is 104.239.175.178. There's even less reason for you to know that, unless you want to impress somebody at a bar or something like that. Hey, baby, I think I can tell you what OWU's IP address is. I'm sure that'll impress all your friends. But again, 4 numbers separated by dots, all between 0 and 55. The thing to know is computers care about IP addresses. Computers care about IP addresses because they're numbers and computers are good with numbers. Okay. The second way to talk about addresses on the computer is what's called domain names. This is a name that looks sort of like English, again separated by dots. Pieces separated by dots. So this is Google.com. This is OWU.edu. This is www.owu.edu/twiddle/stmccull/ something like that. These are domain names, or at least this part's the domain name. That part. domain names are written in a way domain names go from specific to general from left to right. So what I mean by that is when I say www.owu.edu, the most general part of that is the edu. Edu is the general name for all universities and colleges in the United States. And then OWU is, let me write this down, edu. All colleges and universities. So edu is the final thing for all colleges and universities in the U.S. The OWU part is Ohio Wesleyan University specific, which is different from harvard.edu and is different from denison.edu and is different from osu.edu and things like that. So more specific than all colleges, okay? And then www www.owu.edu says inside of the edu world of all colleges and universities, we go to owu.edu, the Ohio Wesleyan part of it. Inside the Ohio Wesleyan part of it, we have one machine. It's the name of a computer called www.owu.edu. It's the name of the computer owned by OWU that holds the web server. So that's one specific thing in one specific place. So the point is, when you see a web address, you should be looking at it, and you're trying to figure out what it means. You should be looking at it from right to left, general to specific. So anything that ends in edu is a college, and then the thing before the edu is the name of the college, and then before that. The reason I'm telling you about this partially is so to help you understand domain names and how they work, but also because you'll often see things that look like this. This is a good one. Let's do this. www.owu.edu.evilplace.com or something like that. And the point is that going general to specific, this is the most general. It's a company. It's not a college. Okay? And then the evil place so anything that ends in com is a company, a private company. Google.com, Yahoo.com, Citibank.com, that kind of stuff. The evilplace.com part is the name of a company. Obviously, in real life, they wouldn't call themselves Evil Place. Scroll down. Oh, maybe. Is that better? Okay. How far down do I have to go before? Do you see the numbers on the side? What's the bottom number you can see? Just so I have an idea of how much space to leave myself. 68. All right. Well, there is no 68, so I don't know. You mean 63? 59? Okay. All right. I'll stop around 59 then. All right. So the point is, because it's a .com and because we're going general to specific, right to left, evilplace.com is the place this is at. Okay. And all of this is the name of a machine on evilplace.com. Okay, because anything to the left of EvilPlace is a thing inside EvilPlace. Okay, so you might have heard of phishing, spelled with a PH because we're cool like that. Phishing is attempting to trick people to go to a malicious site by pretending to be a legitimate one. And so every so often here on campus, you get an email from some fake place that says, oh, your account's over quota, please click this link to reset your password, or something like that. And you should never click the link, and you get all these warning emails about don't go there, blah, blah. And so it's a good rule of thumb, never go someplace to reset your password. They'll never ask you to do that. But also, if you kind of hover your mouse over the link, you'll see it looks kind of like this kind of link, in the sense that it'll pretend in the stuff on the left, the specific side, to be part of Ohio Wesleyan, but will really on the right side be someplace else. Okay? And so if you're ever not sure of whether a web page or a website or web address, a domain name, is legitimate or not, read it from right to left, general to specific, and that'll tell you what kind of place it is. Okay. So the point is, you can kind of parse these domain names to figure out where they really are at by reading them in the correct way. All right, does that make sense? So this is just your friendly neighborhood how to stop a phishing scam kind of helpful hint. Okay. People care about domain names. People are notoriously bad at remembering series of numbers like you would need for an IP address. And so the domain names are human-friendly names of places like google.com or someplace like that, that is there to help you remember where to go. Okay? So here's an example. This is the link I get on Firefox when I try to start this Google Hangout. This is the address that comes up. And so I want to walk you through the various parts of this so you can kind of understand what's happening inside one of these web addresses. Okay, so this is the address of the web page that I get. If you want to go there, you can. It's going to say something about how Google Hangouts doesn't work on Firefox and they're trying to fix it. But here's how to read this. Okay, this part is it's called the protocol. That you use to communicate with the web page. A protocol is a set of rules for how that communication is going to work, for what those data getting sent across the network needs to look like. Both people on both sides of that connection need to agree on the rules for how to interpret the data that goes across the network. And so the HTTPS protocol is a set of rules for how to communicate. If you care, the other protocols you may see is regular HTTP without the S. The difference between HTTP and HTTPS is that the S is secure and encrypts your messages going across the network so that nobody can spy on them. Try very hard to not send like credit card information to a web page that uses HTTP as opposed to HTTPS because it's not secure. You'll often FTP is the protocol for doing file transfer, and you might see others, but these are the ones you see the most. Okay. The point is, and the HTTP is so ubiquitous that most of the time in a modern web browser, you don't even have to type it. You can just type google.com, it'll take you to the right place. Okay. the next part, so that would be this. Okay, this is the domain name of the place we're getting the web page from. Okay, we're going to support.google.com. Again, reading things general to specific, right to left. That means it's a company. The company is called Google and supports the name of a machine at google.com, which again sounds reasonable for a place that gives Google support, right? Remember, because computers care about IP addresses, this domain name is behind your back being turned into an IP address. Computers want to see IP addresses. So what happens behind your back if you load this page into the web browser is that somebody, someplace, is taking this support.google.com and I'm trying to find the IP address of it, and turning it into 172.217.4.238. You don't need to know that. You never need to know that because that's happening automatically for you. It's worth knowing, though, that this happens automatically for you. And one of the ways computer networks can go down is this translation between domain name and IP address gets broken somehow. And so you're stuck with this domain name that you can't turn into an IP address. It's also what happens if you try to do support something like that, support.google.co or something, where you'll get an error. If you try typing that into the web browser, you'll get an error that says, it won't say exactly this. It'll mean, I don't know how to turn this into an IP address. So I get server not found is the name of the error I get. And what it means is I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to turn an IP address. There is no machine with this name. I can't do anything about it. Okay. All right. So now let's go back to the address. Okay. So we have the first part, which is the protocol. We have the second part, which is the domain name of the machine. This, or actually these two, probably maybe these three, are names of files and folders on the support.google.com machine. So again, in this case, even though the domain name goes the most general thing on the right, when you're parsing the different parts of the IP address of the domain of a web address, the most general part is on the left, and as you go further and further right, you're going into more and more folders, going down, 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 until you get to the name of the file. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because you are going to make your own web pages, and their addresses are going to look something like this. Here's what a web page on my server will look like. I don't think this page actually exists, but again, this is a web address of something that would look like a web page on the web server. It's going to look similar to what the web pages that you're going to make for the homework in the lab are going to look like. Okay, and again, by this logic, okay, this stuff here is the protocol, just like it was for before. Not secure, not encrypted, because nobody's sending passwords or anything like that to our crappy web pages. This part is the domain name of the machine that we're talking to. This part, notice the tilde is important, is an account on the www.edu machine. One person's login. That's my login because that's my username of my account on the server. All of you have your own account on the server, on the web page, that you're going to edit and change in the lab and the homework. And your web address is http://www.edu/tilde, the first part of your email before the @ Okay. So that's your account, okay? And then this stuff is a folder and a file on that account. CS103 is a folder and page.html is a file. So terminology-wise, this www.owu.edu machine is called a web server, okay? A web server the job of a web server is to hold web pages. Web pages are files. The web server gets requests from the web server gets requests from other computers on the internet to show pages, to give them files and show them what they look like. So what this means is when you create your own web pages, you need to put them on the web server. So the way that making these web pages is going to work is that you're gonna edit the files and type the web page formatty stuff on your own computer, and then you're gonna upload them to the web server so that people like, say, me, who are going to grade your homework, can see it. Okay, it doesn't exist for the world until it's on the web server, because the only thing I can do from my room to see your stuff is see stuff that's on a web server that's meant for me to download pages. I can't see files that you create and save to your local machine for obvious reasons, right? If you want the world to see the file, you either have to email it to me like you've been doing for the last few homeworks, or you need to put it in a public place where everybody can find it at a known location, okay? So a file transfer program. So a file transfer program will put files on the server. So I just want to show you an example of what one of these file transfer programs looks like. On the Mac, you're going to use what's called FileZilla. On a PC, use a program called WinSCP. Okay. So I want to show you, let's hope this works, what FileZilla looks like. WinSCP is similar, but I'm on a Mac right now, so this is the one I have to show you. So let me get it up. So hopefully you guys can see kind of a window that has a big line down the middle and a bunch of files on the left side and kind of nothing on the right side. Does that look right? Can you see that? Okay. This is what the FileZilla program looks like when you start it up. It's very close to what the WinSCP program looks like when you start it up. Okay. And so what you got to do is you got to type up here towards the top of the screen, it says host. And you want to type the name of the machine you want to connect to. So for us, that's www.owu.edu. Then you're going to type in for username the part your login for the web server. So if that is the part of your email, it's before the @ okay. And then you're going to type in your password, which I hope is not going to show up in plain text. Good. And then Quick Connect logs you in. And what it's doing now, and you can kind of see it up here, the IP address, I don't know if you can see because it's so small, of the www.owu machine, and it is connecting, and of course, because nothing's going right today, it is not connecting quickly, and I'm wondering what's wrong. So, hooray. Seriously connect. Okay. Well, I thought it says you're already connected. Well, then why? It's connecting. It has not connected yet. That is exciting. All right, I got it. So now that I logged in, what you're seeing on the right is a set of folders and files that exist under my account on the server. I know this type is pretty small, but hopefully you can see here, remote site, okay? Every single web thing you do is going to be on the server, and not just on the server, but in a special folder called public HTML. The number one mistake people make doing this web stuff is they forget to put it on the server at all. The number two mistake people make doing this web stuff is they put their files in the wrong place, and usually that's the place, the home folder of your account, not the public HTML folder. All web pages always see the public HTML folder. And then in here, because I've been doing this for a long time, have lots of subfolders for various classes. And down here I've got various pages. And so what you can do is you can find a page on this side and drag it over to the other side, and that's how you put a file on the server. Okay, so in the lab, about a little ways through, maybe about halfway through the lab, maybe less, I make you, for the first half, write the web stuff on your own machine, and then I make you drag it over to the server to show you how you can do it. It's pretty important that you make sure you can do that part, at least, of the lab pretty soon, because this is the part that requires you to download a new program and use it, and that's the part that you might need help on navigating weird network or weird installation issues. So the sooner we can see whether that part works, the better we'll all be off. Okay. So that's that. Again, this is what FileZilla looks like. The WinFCP program is pretty similar, and it's all about taking files from your machine and putting them on the server. Okay. All right, I'm back to what I was typing. Programs like Firefox or Chrome are called web clients. So there's a client and there's a server. The server holds the pages, the clients get the page. They communicate with servers and send requests for web pages. Okay. So when you type a web address into your browser, you're asking the server at that address to give you a page. Okay. These web pages are written in a special file format called HTML, which I haven't really talked about yet because the lab is really there to teach you how to write HTML on your own. But one of the jobs of the web client is to take this HTML file that comes across the network and turn it into the words and the images and the whatever that you get for a formatted web page. Okay. So here's the thing about HTML. HTML, it's what's called a formatting language. A formatting language describes it describes the format of how a web page should look. What that means is when you've done stuff on a word processor, for example, you wanted something underlined. You typed something, you highlighted it with the mouse, you clicked the underline button up at the top of the screen, and lo and behold, it showed up underlined. Ta-da! Right? You are probably used to word processing. In word processing, the screen looks like in word processing, the screen looks like what the final document looks like. Things that are underlined on the screen become underlined when you print it out. Things that are bold on the screen become bold when you print it out. Things that are centered or spaced out on the screen are centered or spaced out when you print it out. Right? The technical term for this is what you see is what you get. And because we in computer science we like acronyms, what you see is what you get, or abbreviated WYSIWYG, if you try to pronounce this as a word. I'm telling you this because HTML is not WYSIWYG. It does not follow this what you see is what you get set of rules. Okay? Instead, you give formatting commands to the browser for how a page should look. Okay? So the way you make a text bold, there is no bold button. Okay? You have to say something like that. And so what this B is, in this B in the angle brackets, what that's doing is a command to start writing bold text. Everything after this B is going to show up in bold on the browser because you said B for bold. Okay, and the second one, this the slash is a command to stop writing bold text. And so that's how, so most things that you want to set off and format are marked on both sides with these tags. And so your page has a lot of weird angle brackety things lying around all over the place that define how things should look. Okay? Anything in angle brackets in an HTML file is not going to show up on the screen directly. It's a command for how to format or arrange or show things. Okay, so I wanted to tell you this because it's a different way of thinking about how to write text and stuff, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, and yeah, HTML is different. Okay, and I think it's important that you see it and understand it because it's the language that underlies all of the internet, and at least all of the World Wide Web part of the internet, so that you can see it. So that you know what's going on underneath. So the big ideas for today are IP addresses and domain names are the way things are communicating on the internet. How to break down a web address into its protocol, its domain name, its account, and its files and folders. Sorry, let me just scroll that up. How to understand the basic idea of transferring things to and from the web server using these file transfer programs, and that the web pages are written in this markup, this HTML formatting language. So the lab is there to teach you at least very basic, simplistic, looking like if it's from the 90s, HTML, so that you can make very basic and simple web pages. The homework is design a couple of web pages. Okay, and so once you've done the lab, you should be able to design a couple of web pages that have some cool text on it, tell you about yourself, and then send the link to me. So it would be very, very helpful if you got between now and Thursday night far enough in the lab to let me know if you have any questions about how HTML and stuff worked, and also if you run into any problems doing the file transfer part of the lab. That's, I think, the biggest hurdle that in a face-to-face class I can sit down with you and fix, but here, since we're far apart, we'd have to take some time to fix. So that's the thing I'm most worried about with this week's homework, is people messing up or not understanding how to do the file transfer side of things. All right, any questions on internet, web, HTML stuff? Not yet. All right, please do try to do some of it before Thursday, just so we can answer any questions. And then I'll spend as much time as you want on Thursday answering whatever questions you have. Maybe I'll do some simple HTML for you so you can see it. Hopefully my pen will work again or something. I don't know what happened with that. Sorry about that. And we'll go on from there. Cool? All right. I will see you guys Thursday. Send me emails whenever you're confused, and I'll try my best to answer them as often as I can. Stop.